I'll come to your sister's wedding, and it seemed natural for a sister to celebrate her sibling's marriage. We weren't exactly close, but I couldn't accept it right away. But if the main person, Stacy, didn't invite me, I couldn't attend. I seriously wondered if all I could do was send a congratulatory telegram. That's when I received a call from my mother. "You must absolutely not come to the wedding. Wait to stand." I was terribly shocked by her words, emphasizing the point. Considering my mother's vanity, I thought she wouldn't like it if the real sister was absent in front of other guests and would force me to attend. I thought she would at least say, "Make sure you attend and give a generous gift." So I was more surprised than when Stacy told me not to come and I couldn't easily back down. But won't everyone think it's strange if I'm not there? That's none of your concern. Why are you so adamant about wanting me there? It didn't seem like it was just because Stacy didn't want me there. Or was my mother willing to indulge Stacy's whims to this extent? She didn't even talk about the gift money she usually insists on and just kept repeating, "Just don't come." That's why I thought there must be something going on. So, on the day of the wedding, I secretly went to the reception venue. It's in the midst of the reception, while everyone was distracted, I quietly peeked inside. Then, next to my sister, sat an unimaginable person. No way. This can't be happening. I was thrown into utter confusion. Because there in the seat where the groom should have been was Kevin. He was supposed to be on a long business trip starting today, but now that he was here, it meant that the trip was a lie. I gently closed the door I was peeking through. What's going on? I can't make heads or tails of this. The only thing I understood was that somehow my sister Stacy's husband was my own husband, Kevin. It made sense why I didn't know Stacy had a boyfriend until the wedding talk. That the person was Kevin. Reflecting back, her boasting about her partner being perfect for her probably meant she found herself more suited for Kevin than me. Stacy had been bragging about a luxurious honeymoon. So Kevin was supposed to go on a 2-week trip abroad with her. His claim of a long business trip was undoubtedly a cover for this. Realizing this, I understood why Kevin had been coming home less often recently. Not because of work, but due to his affair with Stacy. So Mom told me not to come to the wedding to hide this. Though my mother always favored Stacy, I was shocked to think that she would go to the extent of arranging a marriage like this. At the same time, I felt anger and disgust towards Stacy for stealing my husband and towards Kevin for betraying his wife with her sister. I quietly returned home without causing a scene at the reception, but I had no intention of letting this go. It's too frustrating to let those two comfortably live the married life they've schemed for, and hope.
Now, what should I do?
While pondering various methods of revenge, a question crossed my mind. Surely some of the attendees knew that Kevin and I were married. How did they explain that? As I was deep in thought, my father-in-law called. Looking at the clock, the reception must have just ended. I assumed he was contacting me, wondering why the bride's sister was absent, but I didn't think he would come. it must be awkward at your ex-husband's wedding. But it seems he never submitted it and just discarded it yet. Kevin didn't hesitate to dip into our supposed shared assets. Kevin had clearly been using our shared finances. In my investigations, I discovered that the $40,000 I had been saving for our retirement had been embezzled without my knowledge, making me believe we were married while behind my back. He was having an affair with my sister and even took money. This realization reignited my anger. Meanwhile, the evidence against those two steadily piled up. I reaffirmed my goal. I'll give them a hellish married life they deserve. Literally on the day Kevin and Stacy returned from their trip, I went to the station with my father-in-law to greet them. I asked my father-in-law to stay hidden while I greeted them alone. He submit me. Kevin's face showed a moment of shock before remembering Stacy beside him, and his expression turned to one of alarm. But it's not what it looks like. I just happened to meet Stacy there. It was really a business trip. I see. Is that how you've been deceiving Jessica all this time? Dad, why are you here? Kevin was taken aback seeing my father-in-law suddenly emerge from behind a pillar. I glared at my sister, standing dumbfounded next to him. Stacy, come with us to the house. Oh, and I've called Mom over too. Seemingly frightened by my assertive tone, Stacy quietly complied. My mother, who I had called earlier, arrived at our house, and I began to speak calmly in front of everyone. First off, I know everything about you, Kevin and Stacy. Kevin, you started staying away from home 2 years ago, saying you were busy with work. But it was because you were dating Stacy, right? That is? And from last year, you stopped contributing to our household because you got engaged to Stacy, right? You didn't want to use our living expenses for the wedding costs. Also, you withdrew all the savings I had accumulated. So that was found out too. Though he looked disgruntled, he admitted it easily, which was somewhat anticlimactic. Probably because, having married Stacy, he had no intention of living with me any longer. He might have thought it was pointless to make excuses if it was all going to come out anyway. So what? Don't make a fuss, you income-bragging old lady. If that's what you think, why did you marry me? Oh, it was just a de facto marriage, actually. Because you earn a high salary. I thought if we acted like we were married, you'd handle the living expenses. So, you never filed the marriage certificate because you never loved me at all. Yeah, I didn't want to tarnish my family register with someone like you. My suitable marriage partner is only a young and pretty girl like Stacy. Following Kevin's gaze towards Stacy, I saw her smirking just like him. You must be so jealous, sister. Marrying Kevin makes me a company president's wife. Someone ugly like you would never find such a good catch again. Hey, don't say that. Compared to Stacy, most women don't stand a chance. As even at this point, these two showed no remorse for deceiving me or spreading lies about the divorce being my fault. And my mother, she just watched them with a smile. Not only I, but also my father-in-law was trembling with anger, but they seemed oblivious. I decided to dampen their newlywed spirits. Kevin, Stacy, I will be claiming damages from you both. Including the savings Kevin embezzled, at least $60,000 from the two of you. Son, we were actually married, remember? Can't claim compensation from a single guy. Sorry about that. Aita can claim damages for infidelity in a de facto marriage, you know? That was the first time Kevin showed any sign of being shaken. However, Stacy, who should also be liable for damages, still seemed unfazed. Kevin will be fine, right? You'll cover my share too, won't you? Hearing this, I couldn't help but burst into laughter. Hey, what's so funny? No, it's just... Do you think being a president automatically means being rich? What do you mean? A business owner doesn't get protection under the labor laws. So they're the first to feel the pinch when business isn't going well. Kevin stopped contributing to our household for Stacy. But the excuse of business difficulties he used was actually true. The subsidiary Kevin managed was the smallest, and its profits had been decreasing since he took over. My father-in-law had been watching the situation. It was feeling it was time to merge it with another subsidiary. So in reality, as a rising star in a big corporation, I was the one earning more. And I had always been the main breadwinner, not Kevin. Also, Kevin, you're in debt, aren't you? How did you know that Stacy was bragging about the lavish wedding and luxurious honeymoon? But the savings you withdrew from my account wouldn't cover all that, right? You had to borrow money. So Kevin was in a tough spot, not just with paying for Stacy, but even struggling to cover his own damages. As Kevin reluctantly nodded, both Stacy and my mother turned pale. No way. Is Kevin actually poor? I thought I'd live a life of luxury as a company president's wife. Exactly. You promised to take care of my debts too when you married Stacy. Did you lie? Apparently, my mother had agreed to Stacy's marriage for the money. No, it's not a lie. I'll inherit my father's fortune eventually. Then I can pay off the debts and damages. I was speechless in disbelief. Evan was counting on his father's inheritance. Even though my father-in-law was still in his 50s and healthy. Unlike me, my father-in-law didn't just stand there in dismay. Yep. After all you've done to Jessica, you still don't take responsibility and instead rely on someone else's wealth. I won't let someone like you inherit anything. The three of them were stunned by my father-in-law's fury. Especially Kevin, who had been counting on his father's assets, looked even more distressed. Wait, Jessica. You're kind, you'll help me, right? The damages are a joke, right? We're a couple. You were the one who didn't file the marriage certificate. Besides, your wife is Stacy. It would be sad to get confused, wouldn't it? But after 5 years together, you can't just abandon me. Next to Mother and Stacy also clung to me, saying, but we're family. Even as they cried and pleaded, I couldn't bring myself to forgive them. And my resolve was evident to the three, who eventually slumped in defeat. After that, the two who are supposed to have a happy life became overworked trying to pay off Kevin's debts and the damages to me. Far from a sweet married life, they were constantly fighting. My mother, too, had to work multiple jobs, day and night, even as she approached 60 to pay off her own debts. As for me, living alone, I was enjoying a comfortable life, using my earnings solely for myself. I occasionally kept in touch with my father-in-law, living my life at my own pace.